Before nations were born and borders were drawn, there stood a land, timeless, sacred, and unshaken by the storms of history. That land is India. This isn't just a speech. It's a journey through the soul of a civilization that refuses to be conquered, broken, or silenced. As the world races for power, India moves with purpose, guided not by fear, but by faith, culture, and truth. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear isn't just about politics or power, it's about destiny, spirit, and why the West, despite all its might, can never defeat the heart of India. India's strength lies in her extraordinary ability to endure and rise above centuries of conquest, colonization, and foreign domination, without losing the essence of her identity. From ancient times, India has faced a series of invasions. The Greeks under Alexander, the Huns, the Turks, the Mughals, and later the British Empire. Each power came with the intent to rule, exploit, and transform the land to reflect their own image. Yet, despite the political upheavals, India retained her culture, her languages, her traditions, and her soul. The Mughals ruled vast parts of India for centuries, but India absorbed their influence while still keeping her native essence alive. The British Raj attempted to crush the spirit of India through economic exploitation and cultural subjugation. They tried to break the back of Indian identity by replacing ancient education systems, imposing foreign laws, and extracting wealth. But in response, India produced warriors, scholars, and spiritual leaders who rekindled national pride. From resistance movements to intellectual revival, India's resilience never faded. Even when partition tore the land apart in 1947, India stood firm and built a democratic republic out of trauma. Every attempt to divide her, to suppress her, to redefine her, only strengthened her sense of unity and purpose. This resilience is not just historical, it lives on in the Indian psyche. The story of India is one of adaptation without surrender, change without forgetting, and progress without losing touch with the past. In every temple that still stands, every festival still celebrated, every language still spoken, one can see the mark of a civilization that has survived the fires of history, not by chance, but by unyielding strength and timeless endurance. This historical resilience is what makes India a nation that cannot be defeated, only respected. India stands as one of the richest cultural civilizations in human history. Its traditions, values, philosophies, and spiritual teachings have shaped not only its own identity, but have rippled across continents for thousands of years. This land is the birthplace of Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism, religions that emphasize inner peace, nonviolence, self-realization, and the interconnectedness of all beings. The teachings of the Vedas, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, and other ancient texts continue to influence millions worldwide, far beyond India's borders. Indian culture is not just spiritual, it's artistic, intellectual, and scientific. From classical dance forms like Bharatanatyam and Kathak to timeless music, from intricate temple architecture to the sacred traditions of Ayurveda and yoga, India has given the world treasures that endure through time. Its epics, such as the Ramayana and Mahabharata, are not just stories. They are philosophical frameworks that explore ethics, duty, courage, and human nature. The cultural strength of India lies in its depth and diversity. Despite having hundreds of languages, dialects, customs, and cuisines, the country has managed to hold its cultural identity together like a sacred thread that binds its people. From Kashmir to Kanyakumari, there is difference, but also harmony. Indian cinema, especially Bollywood, has become a global phenomenon, carrying the color, drama, music, and storytelling tradition of Indian culture to the world stage. Indian literature, both ancient and modern, speaks of values, struggles, dreams, and truths that are universally human. This continuous transmission of values, wisdom, and expression from one generation to the next, despite global influences and colonization, reflects an unshakable cultural power. While other nations may rise and fall with the times, India's cultural legacy gives it a foundation that is vast, alive, and impossible to erase. India's democracy is one of the most remarkable achievements in modern political history. At the time of independence in 1947, Many global observers doubted whether such a vast, diverse, and complex nation could sustain a democratic system. With hundreds of languages, multiple religions, varying levels of literacy, and deep-rooted social divisions, the task seemed nearly impossible. Yet India chose democracy, not as an experiment, but as a firm commitment to give every citizen a voice, regardless of caste, creed, or economic status. Since its first general election in 1951, India has consistently held free and fair elections, peacefully transferring power between governments of differing ideologies. The scale of these elections is unmatched, with hundreds of millions of voters participating through an electoral process that extends to the most remote villages and regions. The very fact that the largest democracy in the world operates without military coups or systemic collapses speaks volumes about its inner strength. India's democratic system has been tested by crises, emergencies, insurgencies, political instability, and external threats, but it has endured each trial with resilience. Institutions like the judiciary, the election commission, and the free press have played key roles in maintaining checks and balances. Political debates, activism, civil society movements, and public protests have also contributed to shaping India's democratic identity, often forcing change through peaceful resistance and constitutional mechanisms. What sets India apart is that democracy here is not limited to elite circles. It is lived and breathed by ordinary people. From farmers demanding their rights to students organizing protests, from village council elections to digital campaigns, the democratic pulse of the nation remains strong. While challenges exist, the democratic spirit in India continues to evolve, adapt, and empower, proving that a system rooted in people's will can thrive even in the most complex of societies. India's approach to foreign policy has long been defined by its commitment to strategic autonomy, a principle that emphasizes national interest over alignment with any global power bloc. This mindset was born during the Cold War, when India refused to become a satellite of either the United States or the Soviet Union. Instead, it became a founding member of the non-aligned movement, asserting that its choices would be guided by independence and pragmatism, not pressure or ideology. This principle remains central to India's global conduct even today. In a world increasingly polarized by geopolitical rivalries, India walks its own path. It engages with the West through economic partnerships, defense agreements, and diplomatic dialogues, while also maintaining strong ties with Russia, its long-standing defense partner. At the same time, it deepens cooperation with countries across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. India does not allow external forces to dictate its decisions. Instead, it seeks balanced relationships based on mutual respect. Strategic autonomy is evident in India's decisions on major global issues. Whether it is purchasing oil from sanctioned countries, choosing defense suppliers, or taking positions at the United Nations, India always weighs what is best for its people and long-term interests. This approach reflects not only confidence but also a deep understanding of its unique geopolitical position. India's ability to maintain this delicate balance enhances its credibility on the global stage. It is seen not as a tool of Western influence or an extension of Eastern power, but as an independent actor capable of shaping regional and global affairs. As a result, India has earned a seat at multiple global forums such as BRICS, Quad, SCO, and G20, where it brings a voice of balance, reason, and sovereignty. This strategic autonomy reinforces India's position as a power that cannot be easily swayed or subdued. India's economic rise is one of the most significant developments in the global economy over the last few decades. From being written off as a struggling post-colonial nation, India has transformed into one of the fastest-growing major economies in the world. Its journey from scarcity to surplus, from dependency to innovation, is a testament to its resilience, adaptability, and ambition. The liberalization of the Indian economy in the early 1990s marked a major turning point. By opening up markets, encouraging private enterprise, and welcoming foreign investment, India began building the foundation for long-term economic growth. Since then, the country has expanded its GDP exponentially, built a strong service sector, and developed thriving industries in information technology, pharmaceuticals, automotive manufacturing, and telecommunications. India is now home to a booming startup ecosystem, with cities like Bengaluru and Hyderabad becoming global hubs of innovation. Young entrepreneurs are building world-class products, attracting international capital, and solving local as well as global problems. India's digital infrastructure, including platforms like Aadhaar, UPI, and Digital India, has created a technological backbone that is transforming governance, banking, healthcare, and education. A key driver of this ascent is India's demographic dividend. With a large, youthful population, the nation possesses an abundant and growing workforce that is both skilled and ambitious. This dynamic pool of talent is powering industries, innovating solutions, and pushing the country into the digital age. Infrastructure development, rapid urbanization, renewable energy investments, and a shift towards self-reliance through initiatives like Make in India are all accelerating economic momentum. India is not only emerging as a global market for goods, but also as a production and innovation powerhouse. This economic transformation enhances India's global influence, giving it the financial muscle and strategic depth to withstand pressure and engage with major powers from a position of strength. India's military strength has evolved significantly over the decades, shifting from a largely defensive force to a modern, multi-dimensional power capable of defending its sovereignty and projecting regional influence. This transformation is not rooted in aggression, but in necessity. India faces a complex security environment, bordered by nuclear-armed neighbors and subject to cross-border tensions, insurgencies, and emerging threats in new domains like cyber and space. India possesses one of the largest armed forces in the world, comprising the Indian Army, Navy, and Air Force. Its defense capabilities are bolstered by a nuclear arsenal, developed to ensure credible minimum deterrence. This nuclear capability, combined with an advanced missile program, forms a strong strategic deterrent that discourages direct conflict and secures the nation's borders. Over the past 2 decades, India has accelerated military modernization through domestic production and international partnerships. The government has placed increased focus on indigenous defense manufacturing through the Make in India initiative, aiming to reduce dependency on foreign arms suppliers. Projects such as the Tejas fighter jet, the Arjun tank, and various missile systems like Agni and BrahMos reflect a growing capacity for self-reliance. India has also expanded its naval strength, recognizing the importance of maritime security in the Indian Ocean region. With a blue water navy, aircraft carriers, submarines, and modern surveillance systems, India can safeguard critical trade routes and respond to regional threats. Collaborations with nations like the United States, France, Israel, and Russia have further enhanced India's technological capabilities and defense preparedness. Participation in joint military exercises and strategic alliances like Quad reflects India's readiness to work with global partners while maintaining its strategic independence. India's military modernization is a powerful signal to the world. It seeks peace, but is fully prepared to defend its interests, borders, and people with strength, precision, and resolve. India's influence on the world extends far beyond economics, politics, or military strength. It is deeply rooted in its unmatched spiritual legacy. This is the land where some of the world's most profound philosophical and spiritual traditions were born and continue to thrive. From the timeless wisdom of the Vedas and Upanishads to the universal teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, India has always offered a vision of life that transcends material boundaries and touches the soul. India introduced the world to the concepts of dharma, righteous duty, karma, action and consequence, and moksha, liberation. These ideas have not only shaped Indian life for millennia, but have also found deep resonance across cultures and continents. The teachings of sages like Adi Shankaracharya, Buddha, Mahavira, Guru Nanak, and Swami Vivekananda have spread across the globe, inspiring people to seek inner peace, self-realization, and a deeper understanding of existence. Yoga and meditation, once sacred practices of ancient rishis, are now embraced worldwide for their mental, physical, and spiritual benefits. India's spiritual heritage has become a form of soft power, creating goodwill and respect in the hearts of millions who may never have visited the country, but feel connected through its philosophies and practices. This spiritual foundation also shapes India's resilience. In times of crisis, the Indian psyche draws from centuries of contemplation, patience, and acceptance. The spiritual legacy gives people the strength to endure suffering, the wisdom to rise above conflict, and the belief that truth ultimately prevails. India's culture of tolerance, prayer, nonviolence, and reverence for all life flows from this spiritual reservoir. It influences not just individuals but the nation's world view, governance, and diplomacy. In a world often driven by materialism and conflict, India's spiritual message remains timeless, guiding light that cannot be extinguished by external force. India's population is one of its most formidable strengths, not just in terms of numbers, but in the potential it holds for innovation, growth, and global leadership. With over 1.4 billion people, India has recently become the most populous country in the world. But beyond the statistics lies a unique demographic advantage. India has one of the youngest populations on the planet, with a median age of around 28 years. This youthfulness gives India a powerful edge in a world where many nations are struggling with aging populations and shrinking workforces. This vast pool of young, energetic individuals is not just a labor force. It's a generation of dreamers, creators, and change makers. They are fueling the rise of India's tech industry, powering its startup ecosystem, and pushing the boundaries in science, engineering, medicine, and the arts. From app developers in Bangalore to space scientists in ISRO, the contribution of India's youth is visible across every major sector. India's educational institutions, digital infrastructure, and expanding access to the internet have enabled this demographic to connect, learn, and compete globally. Initiatives like Skill India and Digital India aim to harness this population power by providing tools, training, and opportunities to every corner of the country. Moreover, this population drives consumer demand, making India one of the world's most attractive markets for investment. As incomes rise and aspirations grow, India's domestic market is becoming a major engine for global economic activity. This young generation carries the values of the past and the ambition of the future. They are deeply rooted in culture but ready to explore the world. With the right opportunities, this demographic wave can transform India into an economic and technological superpower. The strength of India's population lies not just in its size, but in its relentless energy, creativity, and drive. The global power dynamic is shifting, and India is emerging as a central player in shaping the new world order. For decades, global influence was concentrated in the hands of Western powers, with institutions, trade systems, and diplomatic norms largely dictated by the West. However, as the world becomes increasingly multipolar, India is stepping forward not just as a participant, but as a leader with its own vision, values, and voice. India's growing economy, strategic location, large population, and democratic framework make it an indispensable partner on issues ranging from trade and climate change to digital governance and regional security. It plays a critical role in multilateral platforms like the G20, BRICS, Quad, and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, where it contributes ideas, solutions, and leadership that reflect the priorities of the global South, as well as its own national interests. India's voice is increasingly sought on global issues such as renewable energy, cybersecurity, terrorism, and pandemic response. Its initiatives like the International Solar Alliance and Vaccine Maitri have demonstrated that India is not only capable of addressing its own challenges, but is also willing to contribute to global solutions. This commitment to global good has won India respect and credibility in both developing and developed nations. At the same time, India is asserting itself diplomatically by maintaining strategic autonomy. It refuses to be drawn into the ideological conflicts between great powers, instead choosing cooperation based on mutual respect and benefit. Whether it is dealing with the United States, Russia, China, or regional neighbors, India's approach is grounded in balance and sovereignty. As global institutions undergo transformation and emerging powers claim their place, India is no longer waiting for validation. It is actively shaping global narratives, building coalitions, and offering leadership rooted in its own civilizational wisdom, modern aspirations, and strategic clarity. India's greatest strength does not lie in her weapons, wealth, or global alliances. It lies in her unbreakable spirit. This is a nation that has faced repeated invasions, brutal colonization, internal divisions, poverty, and natural calamities. Yet through every trial, India has not only endured but risen stronger, more united, and more determined than before. The spirit of India is built on resilience, sacrifice, and an unshakable belief in the power of truth and perseverance. From the nonviolent resistance of Mahatma Gandhi to the sacrifices of freedom fighters, from rebuilding after partition to responding to global pandemics, the Indian people have shown time and again that they cannot be defeated by hardship or intimidation. The spirit of India is not confined to government institutions or military power. It lives in the hearts of its ordinary citizens. Farmers, laborers, students, scientists, women, and youth across the country wake up every day to struggle, strive, and succeed against the odds. This inner strength fuels India's march forward. When India faces global criticism, economic pressure, or security threats, it responds not with submission, but with innovation, determination, and self-reliance. Whether it's developing its own vaccines, building its own satellites, or rising from colonial exploitation to economic independence, India's story is one of relentless forward movement. It is this spirit that binds the country's vast diversity into a single national soul. It is the power behind social reform, scientific discovery, artistic brilliance, and spiritual guidance. And it is this spirit that the world cannot suppress, because it comes not from policy or politics, but from the timeless essence of a civilization that knows how to fall, how to rise, and how to endure. India stands today not just as a nation, but as a living testament to resilience, wisdom, and unshakable spirit. With her rich culture, youthful energy, spiritual depth, and unwavering independence, she continues to rise, defying every attempt to control or conquer her. No matter how the world shifts, India walks her own path, grounded in ancient strength and modern ambition. To all who watched and listened, thank you. May you carry this message of strength with you. Keep believing, keep rising, and never forget. The spirit that refuses to break is the spirit that will always lead. Good luck and God bless.